Okay, thank you all for your patience. I think we're ready to get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Very excited to be with you. My name is Curtis Deeksma. I'm the North American Academic Sales Manager here at CCI Learning. And today's webinar is going to be focused on our brand new solution for Microsoft Office Online called Jasperactive Microsoft Office Online. It's a fantastic product. It focuses specifically on Microsoft Office products in the cloud. So the ability to learn how to use tools and skills within Microsoft Office without having to have the software installed. It's pretty incredible. I'm so excited to share it with you today. And before we begin and take a deep dive into the product, I do want to spend a few minutes just going through some quick housekeeping and introductions. You all should be able to see my screen right now. You should be able to see my PowerPoint slide there. So we're going to go ahead and begin. So we're going to start off just with some quick welcome and introductions in the first few minutes here. Then I'll do a deep dive into the product. I'm going to show you it hands-on. I'll show you the student experience as well as the teacher experience. So I'll be able to show you some of the back end. We're going to leave plenty of time at the end of this webinar for questions as well. I should mention that I ask you please keep your microphone muted during the presentation. There are quite a few people on the call today. We're expecting even more to trickle in. So we'll do our best to moderate and manage that, but please do keep your microphone muted until the end when you're more than welcome to unmute and ask a question. If you have a burning question that you would like addressed right away, by all means, please use the Teams chat feature. You can see there's an instant messaging feature built in here. You definitely can communicate with the members of my team that are on the call today, and they will be able to answer any burning questions as we move through the presentation. Many of you will be familiar with who CCI Learning is, but I do want to spend just a couple of minutes giving a little background information on our organization. So we're headquartered in Langley, British Columbia, Canada, which is the west coast of Canada. We are a global company. We've been in business for about 30 years. And we started off as a courseware publisher, so developing traditional textbook or curriculum material for the classroom for software products like Microsoft Office. In the last several years, we partnered with Certiport, who is a division of Pearson Education, to focus on industry certification exams. So our resources that we developed began to focus on specifically helping learners earn a certification directly from a vendor like Microsoft. In the last few years, we decided to dip our toe into the software development world, and we ended up going in headfirst as deep as we could with our wonderful product called Jasperactive. It started off as an installed version, but since then we've been able to pivot due to the circumstances that the entire world is facing right now and develop an online solution so that remote learners can still utilize the great resources that we've developed without having to install software and not being restricted by their device. That's what we're going to cover today. And ultimately, we're really just a bunch of cool, excitable people who are passionate about education, we're passionate about technology, and excited to share all of that with you in today's presentation. I do want to spend a quick minute just talking a little bit about our vision as an organization. So our mantra at CCI Learning is that every lifetime deserves to be maximized. And we truly believe that and apply that into everything that we do. We want learners to be able to reach their maximum potential. And we think that every student deserves a fair and equal chance to succeed, no matter what their learning style is or what their background may be. With that in mind, we create resources to specifically meet students where they are. And this is particularly important, again, because of the circumstances that we're all facing with COVID-19. The world's changed. The education landscape has changed. Students are learning from home or in hybrid environments. Restrictions in terms of public gatherings are being changed all the time depending on how many cases you have. Just as an example, recently here over the weekend, we had some of our restrictions change because we've had a spike in cases. So the world looks very different than it did last year, and we want to be able to provide students with all of the same educational opportunities they would have had in the past. And so with that in mind, we develop all of our resources to ensure that students can access them from anywhere on any device. We believe that empowering students with future-ready skills is of the utmost importance, and so we're constantly asking, how do we help students maximize their learning experience? How do we prepare them for their educational advancement or their careers? One of the things that I've heard several times in the last 6 months or so since we've been dealing with these circumstances is that student engagement is difficult. So it's difficult at the best of times, of course. But when you have a student who's working from home, attending a virtual class, it's tough to keep their attention. I mean, there are so many distractions. And so we need to come up with learning styles, learning methods, and content that keeps students engaged, keeps them excited. And we believe that we've done that with Jasperactive MOS Online. I'd also like to take a moment to quickly introduce the team on the call today. All of my team members will be available in the chat answering questions as we move through the presentation. So once again, my name's Curtis, and there are several other team members, including the management team here on the call today. You'll probably see them in the attendee list for the meeting. So please, by all means, ask your questions as we move through the presentation, and they will be jumping in to answer them for you. Okay, I do want to start off and sort of set the stage with a video that we developed and released that's specifically about this product. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you, and we'll get started from there.
Our world went digital a little quicker than most of us were expecting. Are you now struggling to find solutions that can be used from anywhere? Whether it is your office or your classroom, these environments probably look more like your couch, your kitchen table, or maybe even your bed these days. Well, now there is a solution. Introducing Jasperactive MOS Online, a web-based learning and validation platform for Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, specifically formulated for certification readiness. Jasperactive MOS Online is truly a game changer. It is fully compatible with Chromebooks, Macs, and other devices that can be used by anyone, anytime, and anywhere. The content is tailored to Certiport's Microsoft Office Specialist certification exams, brought to you in bite-sized exercises with 10 to 15-hour courses streamlined to focus on certification readiness. It also promotes an inclusive learning environment as Immersive Reader is fully functional with Jasperactive MOS Online. It starts by taking the learner through the benchmark to determine their understanding of the program with a preliminary assessment. After completing the assessment, a prescribed course is produced for the learner with a series of lessons based on the certification exam. The lessons are broken down into 2 levels, a basic level where the tasks are performed live in-app using web apps, and an advanced level performed using interactive exercises. Once the lessons have been completed, the learner is brought to the Create project, allowing them to combine skills and creativity in a project-based exercise that a standalone document is uploaded and scanned for functionality use. Finally, learners can complete the summary assessment that validates the learning pathway. At any point throughout the learning process, the learner can stop and review the ebook to get a better understanding of the concepts at hand. Get your learners certification ready today. Happy learning!
So I think that provides a great summary of what the product is, and I'm happy to spend a little bit more time today to dive into all of those specific features and show you what it looks like. So a few things I just want to reiterate before we go into the deep dive of the actual content from the student experience. So first and foremost, this is a product that can be used by anyone, anytime, and anywhere. This is extremely important. So obviously with the COVID-19 challenges that we've all been facing with remote learning and remote offices, I'm working from home right now, as you can probably tell. We of course have many challenges with things like hardware equity. Not everyone has a PC device at home. We see this specifically with several of the customers we work with directly where students have Chromebooks at home, lower cost devices, for example. So we wanted to create a solution that was available to all learners, no matter what device they were using. As you saw in the video, it can be used on Chromebooks, Macs, it's web-based, and it utilizes Microsoft Office web apps, which is free for everyone. So there's no Microsoft Office licensing required. It can be accessed by any individual on any device. And the exercises themselves are bite-sized. So what that means is they're designed to be done in short sessions. So again, if we're talking about student engagement, we want students to be focused on their learning for the time period that they're doing it without having all of these distractions. So it doesn't make sense to sit them into an hour lesson that they're going to take, an extended period of time to work through and then be distracted by other things. So the lessons and content are designed to be done in short sit-down sessions so they can get through them quickly and they can resume their work at any time. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into the product. So I'm going to just quickly share a different screen with you here so that I can log in and show you what it looks like live. Okay, so you should all be able to see my screen again here. And what we're looking at is office.com. This is sort of the back end of office.com. So if you just go to office.com, you'll be prompted to log into a Microsoft account. And if you log into your Microsoft account, if you don't have one, it's free to create, takes 2 minutes or so. From there, you'll be provided access to a portal like this, where you'll be able to access the web versions of Microsoft Office. Once again, I want to reiterate, they're free. So this is what mine looks like here. You can see a number of different Office applications on the left-hand side. So I'm going to click on Word. And now I'm presented with the option to create a new blank document. So let's do that. It's going to open up Word for me here. Notice this looks very similar to the traditional installed version of Microsoft Office Word. So if you've never seen web apps before, this is what it looks like. It's sort of a condensed or light version of the traditional installed version of Microsoft Office Word. And all of our features are available here on the ribbon, so we can access all of these. Now, the really cool thing about Jasperactive Online is that you can see it's actually embedded as an add-in into the web apps version of Microsoft Office. Super easy to get. I've already done it ahead of time here, but all you have to do is just go to the Insert tab, click Add-ins, and then you'll be able to search on the Office Store for Jasperactive. It will come up, you click on it, and it's automatically included into your web apps. Once again, it doesn't have to be installed. This is a web application, so there's no IT required. No, you don't have to have your IT staff go in and necessarily deploy this or install it on individual student devices. Technically, anyone can go in, grab the add-in, and then it will be available for them in Office. So let's go ahead and click on the add-in here and see what happens. So you can see it says, welcome to Jasperactive MOS Online. This is our login screen, and this is our step-by-step prescriptive learning pathway. If you're not familiar with Jasperactive, the installed version, I'll quickly explain what the prescriptive learning pathway is, because the online version follows the same methodology. So the very first thing that we want to do is assess a student up front. We want to find out what they know, and more importantly, what they don't know. So we place them into an assessment exam. Now, the purpose of this certainly isn't for the student to pass with 100%. The idea is we want to be able to identify their strengths and the areas that they need to improve upon. Once they get through that assessment, it's 30 minutes in Jasperactive MOS Online. We take their results, analyze them, and then prescribe learning to them through the lesson content. Learning is all hands-on, so students are learning by doing, live within web apps. There's two different types of exercises in Jasperactive MOS Online. There's a basic exercise and an advanced exercise. The basic exercises will utilize the web apps environment, and the advanced exercises are interactive exercises where you're clicking through the screen until you get to the appropriate answer. And we'll show you what both of them look like. From there, there's a create project, and that is a document that the student can create using their own creative freedom, following some guidelines that we give them. And they come in here and complete it, they submit it into Jasperactive, and it's automatically graded. At the end, they have a summary assessment. So the idea is that once the student goes through all of the learning content, they should have learned everything they need to know in order to pass the Microsoft Office Specialist exam. So we give them one more assessment exam at the end to ensure that that's taken place. And if they pass that, they could confidently move on to the Microsoft certification exam. In addition, Our ebook, so I mentioned at the top of the presentation that we develop curriculum, traditional book-based material for the classroom. We've taken that material in ebook format and we've placed it within the Jasperactive environment. That's something the students can reference at any time. So if you have students that are, used to more sort of a traditional, I'm going to read this section of my textbook and then go in and do an exercise, we have that built in for them as well. So I'm going to click Get Started. And it will take me to a login screen. Now, you do need to have a Jasperactive account in order to access Jasperactive MOS Online. And I should also mention that if you currently have a Jasperactive license, so if you're a customer of ours already, you have a Jasperactive license, you automatically get access to this for free. Okay, this is a product that gets added onto your license essentially, and you can access the online content. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new account just in case people on this call haven't seen that process before. It's very quick and easy. You can see here it says new user, register here. So I'll click that and it's going to take me to the new user registration. So I'm going to choose learner or student. And let's just enter in a date of birth here. And then we're going to follow just a very basic registration here. And we'll choose an avatar. And then when we're ready, we're going to enter our group code. So this is something that an educator would provide to a student. It's basically created from the teacher backend, which I'll show you later. So teachers have the ability to create these codes and manage them. I've created one ahead of time, so I'm just going to assign it to myself here. And now we're going to set some security questions and answers. And then we come to an end user license agreement. And once we agree to that, we are good to go. So I'm just going to scroll down, accept that, and click next step. There we go. So let's get started. You can see it's now automatically logged me in here and it's prompted me for my group code. So I will go ahead and just paste that in here. Great, and now it's taken us right into the app. So we have the benchmark exam, we have the lessons, the create project, the summary assessment, and our ebook. You'll notice that the lessons, create project, and summary assessment are all locked. This is because we need the student to go through the benchmark exam first so that we can assess what they know, what they don't know, and then prescribe the learning to them after that. So we're going to start with the benchmark assessment exam. I'll show you what that looks like. So it tells us here we have 30 minutes to complete it, and basically it's just going to give us an explanation of sort of what to expect. When I'm ready, I click Start. And this is designed to be done in one sitting. Okay, so the benchmark, the idea is you want to be able to go through it within 30 minutes in one sitting. You can see there's 20 questions here. We may or may not take our full 30 minutes to get through these questions. One thing I do want to point out that I think is a really great point here is that Jasperactive MOS Online is compatible with Immersive Reader. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Immersive Reader, hopefully you are, but it's a great tool for anyone that struggles with reading things on screen. It will automatically read back the text to the learner. So what I can do if I get the Immersive Reader add-in for Chrome, for example, I can simply highlight the text and click Help Me Read This. It's going to open up those instructions in a new window here, and I hit the play button, and it's going to read back the instructions to me.
1. Clear the formatting for the entire document. 2. Select the Easy Chicken Pot Pie recipe title and apply the heading 1 style.
I just wanted to take a moment to show that to you because it's a really great addition that, again, is a free add-in you can get for Chrome, and it will read all of the instructions and all of the documentation back to you. So if you think that would help your students, certainly it's something that they can take advantage of. All right, so let's look at this first question. Apply a style. So clear the formatting for the entire document is step 1, and then step 2, select the easy chicken pot pie recipe title and apply the heading 1 style. So again, we're testing to make sure the student knows how to do this. If they don't, no problem. They go to the next question and they continue on through. We've also included the option to skip all. So if you want the student just to go through all of the learning material, you don't want them to go through an assessment, you could have them click the skip all button and it will take them right to the end. So let's go ahead and do these steps here. So clear the formatting for the entire document. So I'm going to hit clear formatting and then select the easy chicken pot pie recipe title and apply the heading 1 style. So let's do that. Great. And then we're going to go to our next question. Use the format painter. So using the format painter, apply this style to the remaining recipe titles. Okay, let's do that. So here's the format painter. There we go. Okay, that's all our titles. So let's go ahead and submit that. Now, I'm not going to go through and complete all of these questions, but I wanted to give you an example of what some of them look like. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit skip all now to take me to the end of the benchmark exam. You can see here I get my results instantly, so I can immediately see how I did. It shows me the 2 that I answered and that I answered them correctly, so that's indicated by the green check mark there, and all these other ones, of course, I didn't answer, so they are incorrect. One of the things that I really like about being able to see the results immediately is that you see this book icon here. This links directly to our ebook, and in particular, where that skill or concept is introduced. So I know I've had this experience before, probably you have as well, where you're taking an exam and there's something you're being asked to do that is like on the tip of your tongue, right? You just can't quite remember how to do it, but you know that you do know how to do that particular thing. I know I've had that experience a lot. I like that you have the access to the ebook so you can immediately address that. So for example, if I was struggling with finding and replacing text during the benchmark, and I'm looking at my results, I can see here I got it wrong. If I click that ebook icon, it's going to open up directly to that section of our ebook. So I could immediately get the relief knowing, all right, okay, this is how I do it. And I could read through this section and follow the instructions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click finish and go back to my dashboard. So now the benchmark shows up with that check mark indicating, okay, we've completed that and the other sections have now unlocked. So there's no more lock icon beside lessons or create or the summary assessment. I do want to take a minute before we dive into the lessons just to look at the ebook. So the ebook is actually embedded throughout the lesson content, and you'll see that when we dive into them. But you can also reference it separately because it appears right here as well. So I'm going to click the ebook icon to open up our ebook for Word. You can see all of the lessons on the left-hand side here. So there's 8 lessons, and we can expand each of these to look at a particular section. So there's full screenshots here. They're full color. So if you wanted to read through a section before you actually did the hands-on exercises, certainly you could come in here and do this. You can reference the ebook at any time. All right, so let's dive into what the lessons look like. So we have several different lessons or exercises here within Word. I'm going to first click on managing documents. That's the first lesson here. And you'll see it's broken into the 2 different types of exercises that I alluded to before. So we have the basic exercises and we have the advanced exercises. So once again, basic exercises are live in application, meaning that I'm actually working through, I'm clicking through a document here and following step-by-step instructions. The advanced exercises are interactive exercises that basically show up as sort of a screen capture simulated environment. So let's start with one of the basic exercises. So we'll do learn to find text for further action, the first one here. So it says in this exercise, you will search for text in a 3-page document. To help you determine why the document is so long, you will turn on the formatting marks and then search for a name. Great. So let's go ahead and get started. So it's going to automatically open up a template document for me, as you can see here. And now we have our instructions on the right-hand side. Once again, if I wanted to plunk these into Immersive Reader, I could, and it would read it back to me. You'll also notice the ebook icon is here. So I can click this before I dive into the hands-on piece, and it will take me right to that section of our ebook. So again, for learners that want to be able to read a section before they do the hands-on piece, this is beneficial because it's built right into the content. All right, so this document is 3 pages long, and you want to see how it was set up. On the Home tab, click the More Options button on the right side of the ribbon. Note if you do not see the More Options button, so it just gives us a little bit of an explanation there. And it wants us to do the Show Hide button. So go ahead and do that. And then our paragraph markers come up. So it says scroll through the document so you can see how a paragraph mark was entered between each person's information. The mark appears when you press the Enter key to end a paragraph and return to the left margin, or to insert a blank line. Okay, great. So we can scroll through and see all that. Yep, that makes sense. Now we want to find the information for Andrew McSweeney, but you're not sure which page has this information. Instead of scrolling up and down in the document, use the Find feature. So on the Home tab, click the Find button. So we're on the Home tab. Let's click the Find button. In the search field, type Andrew and then press Enter. There we go. So it's found Andrew in the document here. It says Word now displays a preview of any occurrence it finds that matches in the list below. So basically it's just giving us an explanation of the Find feature. Then the next step is click the occurrence below the search field. Click in the document where the occurrence is to turn off the gray highlight. Word still keeps the search criteria highlighted in yellow. So let's just do that. Great, we can see that reflected there. To remove the search criteria, click the X at the end of the search criteria. So we'll go back into our search here, and great, we'll click that. Now change the search to find where Nick Klassen appears on the list. So we're going to type Nick as the new search criteria and press Enter. There we go. So it's found Nick Klassen. Close the search task pane by clicking the X at the top right of the pane. There we go. And great, that's the end of the exercise here. So we're going to go ahead and click Submit. And then finish, and it's going to automatically grade us. So you can see I completed it successfully. Here's my green check mark. If I had done something incorrectly at this point, it would show with a red X, indicating I would have to go back into that exercise and try again until I got it right. Once again, the ebook icon appears here, so I could reference that if I struggled. In this case, I'm just going to click Finish to move on. Now you'll see the screen is updated for us. So we have a green circle here indicating we've answered this section correctly. And our lesson progress is also updated. So now we have 20% progress in this particular lesson. So that's what a basic exercise looks like. You'll see I was using a live functioning version of web apps, and all of the changes that I was making to this template document that opened were being affected live in the moment within the app. So that's what a basic exercise is like. Let's look at one of the advanced exercises. So I'm going to go back here and choose a different lesson. Let's go to Insert and Format Graphic Elements. And then I'm going to click the last one. So learn to insert a screenshot and screen clip. So let's click that. And now a window is going to me. So all of my instructions are going to appear on the right side in a very similar way to what we saw with the basic exercises. And when we're ready, we click this play button in the middle here, and it says, okay, learn to insert a screenshot or screen clip. In this interactive exercise, you will learn how to capture a screen and then how to capture a specific part of a document to create a screen clipping image. Great. When I'm ready, I click Start. So now we're working in a simulated version of the web apps environment. And so what we're going to do is just follow our step-by-step instructions here. So insert a screenshot. So the first step is click View, click Switch Windows, and click Document 5. So let's go ahead and do that. View, Switch Windows, Document 5. Click the Insert tab and click Screenshot. Insert, Screenshot. Click the Children's Party Notice Form image, which is the first option. Click File, and then click Close. Okay, so the way this is working is it doesn't actually let me progress until I answer correctly. So if I was clicking somewhere else in the document, for example, I'm clicking right now up here, it's not progressing. So I have to follow the steps correctly in order to move to the next step. So we're going to click Don't Save to close this document. Insert a screen clip. So this is our second task. If you only want to capture a portion of the document, use the screen clipping option instead of a screenshot. So click the Insert tab, click the Screenshot arrow, and click Screen Clipping. So we're going to go to the Insert tab, Screenshot arrow, which is here, Screen Clipping. And now it says, watch as we draw a rectangle marquee around the Green Souls logo to select this image. So that's automatically taking place now. This is something we're just observing as a learner. And now it says we've successfully finished the lesson. Do you want to restart this lesson? We're going to click Finish instead. So that means we're completing it. It's going to save our progress now. We're going to go back to our lesson. And now you can see that's shown up as complete, and we're 17% through. So that's the basic exercise and the advanced exercise. This is what makes up Jasperactive MOS Online. So all of the different lessons will have a combination of basic exercises and advanced exercises. The idea is the student goes through all of the learning material step by step until they get everything 100% correct. That's what we want. The end goal is we want students to answer everything with 100%, even if they have to go back in multiple times until they get it. So once I've completed all of the lessons and all of the content, I move into the Create project. So let's open that up. So in this exercise, you will use your creativity and knowledge to solve a real-world problem. So it gives us some instructions here. And this is basically like a project that we're going to work on. Now, the cool thing about this is we give a specification to the learner. So we say, okay, in this case, we're going to be creating a report on how you can protect your online profile, okay? But what we do is we give them a list of things we want them to include in their document without being specific about exactly what to put in it. So what that allows for is some creative freedom. So the learner can create a document that's that's exciting to them and a good representation of something they would create in a real office environment. So what do I mean by that? If we look at the checklist here, it says the first step here, you must apply styles in the document to highlight the important elements such as headings. So we're not telling them what style to incorporate into the document, just that they have to include a style of some kind. And that's actually what we're measuring. So again, whether they like heading 3 or they, whatever style it is they want to include, maybe it's an intense reference style, they have the ability to do that. All we're checking for, all we're grading is that they've included a style. Okay, so same thing here, use a bulleted or number list. So we're not telling them where they need to include that, what content needs to be included within that list, just that they have to include one. When the student is finished, they can come in and hit complete project and it will automatically submit it and grade it. This is something, by the way, that students could do offline. So, they could take the specifications, they could build their document, come in here, open it, and then submit it. So I'm going to go ahead and just click complete here. It's going to submit for me. And obviously it's showing a 0 out of 10 because I have a blank document essentially. But if this was the completed version, it would show up with my score, and then it would give me my checklist of all the things that I answered correctly or incorrectly. And when I'm comfortable with this, I can click finish, and it's going to take me back to my learning. I can go back in and do the create project as many times as I need to. So if I do submit a document and there was something that I missed, I have the ability to go back in and answer it again until I get it right. The summary assessment is the final step in Jasperactive MOS Online. And once again, this is like a post-assessment, right? So once the student's gone through all of the learning material and hopefully they've achieved 100% on all of the learning material, now we want to do one final check before we confidently move that learner on to the certification exam, for example. So this is very similar to the benchmark exam. It's going to open up a template file for me. and we've got 30 minutes, just like we had on the benchmark. And this time we have 12 questions. So you'll see it's a very similar format. So we're asking students to perform multiple tasks sometimes within each of these questions. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through and answer some of these, but I think you get the idea. Once the student submits it, they'll be able to see their score immediately. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip through all of these. And finish. All right, so once again, we get our results right away. We can see in this case, I didn't answer any, so 0 out of 12, and the ebook reference is here again. So if the student did answer anything incorrectly, they can reference it in the ebook to ensure that they know how to get the correct answer. At this point, I can go back to the dashboard here. It shows my summary assessment is complete. And that's everything from the student perspective that I wanted to show you. So you can see, once again, it utilizes the online web-based version of Microsoft Office. It requires no installation, no software licensing for Microsoft Office or anything like that. This is something that any learner can use on any device. And as long as you have an active Jasperactive license, you have access to the online version of it. It contains basic and advanced exercises. The basic exercises utilize the web apps environment and are automatically graded, and the advanced exercises use a simulated interactive exercise environment where your results are tracked and graded. There's a benchmark at the beginning and a summary assessment at the end and a create project in the middle. So that's Jasperactive MOS Online from the student perspective. I'm going to quickly log into the teacher side, and I'm aware that we're running a little low on time here, so I'm going to move through it quite quickly, but there are a few things that I wanted to show you, and then we'll get into questions and answers. So if you're familiar with the installed version of Jasperactive or the previous versions of Jasperactive we've had, the teacher backend is located on the Jasperactive website, which I visited here. It's just mos.jasperactive.com. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. And this is what the teacher panel looks like. So again, if you've utilized our previous versions of Jasperactive, the teacher panel is exactly the same. But for those of you that haven't utilized it, I'll give a quick overview. So these are the main areas of the teacher panel. Now, where you're going to be focusing most of your time will be in the groups manager, the reports, and the teacher resources. So Groups Manager allows you as an educator to create student groups and provide them access to the content. It's very quick and easy to do. All you do is hit add new group, you name your group, you add in which license. You'll have one active license. You can choose an expiration date. And then the most important piece here is that the best way to think about Jasperactive MOS Online is that it's its own separate course. So we have Jasperactive for Microsoft Office 2013, Microsoft Office 2016, Microsoft Office 2019, and then we have Microsoft Office Online. So it's best to think about it as a separate product, a separate course, and you'll notice that I can select which courses I want included in my group here. So if you wanted students just to utilize the online version, then you would simply check that box, or you could choose the individual applications. One question I've got a lot from customers is, are the online products, or is the online product linked to the installed version? Meaning, can a student work on the installed version in my class and then go home and continue their progress from the online version? The answer to that is no, because they're considered separate courses. The Microsoft Office Online one is a more condensed version of Jasperactive. So if you're working in, let's say, a hybrid environment where you have students coming in 2 days a week and then the rest of the time they're working remotely, my recommendation would be just to use the online courses rather than having students, worry about whether or not they can install software on their home device or if they have a compatible device. It just makes more sense to go with the online solution. All I have to do from here is click save, and I'm going to automatically have a group key generated for me. I provide students with that group key, and they can access Jasperactive MOS Online. The code that I used when I created my account earlier in the presentation is one I created 2 minutes before we went live. So it's very, very easy, very quick to do. And once you have students registered in your group, you can run reports on them individually. You can extend their time in the benchmark or the summary assessments. There's many things you can help them reset their passwords, which is a godsend because students forget their passwords, so you can help them with things like that. And that's the groups manager area. Basically just allows you to manage student access and then adjust things like time for them on the different assessment exams. The reports area is quite robust, so you have the ability to run reports on your students at any given time. You simply choose the course. In this case, I'm choosing Word Online, and it will show you all of your different groups and students that are associated to that course. Let's look at this first group here. So you can see there's several different demo accounts I've created under this. You can see how far the student is in the MOS Online course. You can see what their score was on the benchmark exam, the create exercise, and the summary assessment. These also show up as links. So if I click this, it will open up in a new window and show me task by task what this student answered correctly and what they answered incorrectly. And then we can drill down even further. So we can actually click on the student's name, and it will show us by lesson how far they are and what they've answered correctly or incorrectly. So you can see all of the different lessons here included in the Word Online course I was just showing you. If we click that, we can expand even further. It will show us the individual tasks, the percentage of correct marks, how many times did the student practice, how many times did they have to go into that exercise, when was their most recent result, and then it also shows in the interactive exercises how much time they spent in each individual exercise. This is something that you can export out as well into a PDF or a different document so that you can share that with anyone that you need to. So all of that data can be exported. It's quite a robust reporting system and very easy and intuitive to use. The final piece I want to show you is the teacher resources area. So if you come in here and choose Word Online, for example, these are all the teacher resources that we've created to help you as an educator deliver this in the classroom. So I've downloaded these ahead of time. And these are the different pieces that are included in the teacher resources. Now, I don't have time to go through all of these individually, but I will just sort of explain what each of them are. So you'll notice that, or you noticed when we were working through MOS Online, there were template documents that were opened. So we have both the original student data files, that's the original template file that's opened up for the students, as well as the completed versions of them. So what does it look like, or what should it look like when they submit them? So we've included both of those in the instructor resources. We also have detailed lesson notes. So if I open up one of these, for example, it will give us a breakdown of all of the objectives we're covering in which lessons, if it's a basic exercise, if it's an advanced exercise, and then a recommended timing as well for students. So this is a comprehensive lesson plan. You don't necessarily have to follow this, by the way. We've just created it to hopefully make your lives a little bit easier, but up to you whether or not you want to use it, but just know that it's there and available as an additional resource. And then we also have the exercise mapping and the certification exam objectives mapping. So you'll be able to see the objectives that are on the certification exam, and then whether or not it's a basic or advanced exercise within Jasperactive MOS Online. So I highly recommend, if you are going to be delivering Jasperactive MOS Online, that you take the time to download the teacher resources. It's going to make your life easier and will help you deliver the material in the classroom. So I've shown you the student side. This is a very quick look at the teacher side. We've got about 12 minutes left. So I'm happy to, at this point, answer any questions. There may have been some happening in the chat as well that my colleagues have been answering. So I'm going to just pop in here and take a look at the chat and see if there's anything I can help answer. But by all means, at this point, if you have some questions, happy to answer them for you as well. All right, lots of chats here as I'm scrolling through. So I'm going to trust that my colleagues have answered the majority of your questions in the chats. But if you have some questions that you'd like me to answer now, please, by all means, type them in, or you can unmute and ask the question and I'll answer it for you.
Curtis, I just want to let you know that the immersive read aloud features was very well received.
Oh, good.
So
Awesome.
thank you for demonstrating that. There's also some questioning or some clarification here being sought regarding the online course content and then the traditional installation course content. And I know you addressed that, but I just want to make super clear that those are two very different courses. One is more extensive than the other, and one is more focused specifically on the certification exams, objectives, and domains. So it is pared down and a 15 to 20 hour course versus a 40-hour course. So I want to make sure that we further supported your statement and making clear that the Jasperactive MOS Online is the more condensed version, and they are two separate courses.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll elaborate a little bit on that. So of course, one of the challenges with the free version of Microsoft Office web apps is that it is considered a light version of Microsoft Office. So it doesn't have all of the same features that you would get in your traditional installed version. But we want to make sure, of course, that learners that go through our content are fully prepared for the Microsoft certification exam, which means that they need to know things that may not be included directly in web apps. And that's precisely why we have our basic exercises and our advanced exercises. So the basic exercises are ones that can utilize everything built within web apps, and the advanced exercises address skills and concepts that are not found within web apps, that are found in the traditional installed version of Microsoft Office. So that's why we have two different types of exercises built into Jasperactive MOS Online. We had a great question here about reporting. Can the teacher share the group progress with a coworker? Absolutely. So you can run a report, you can export that out and share with your colleagues there.
Good afternoon. May I ask a question?
Of course you can. Good afternoon.
I just want to know, what's the time period, the time frame for the certification? Is it 6 months or a school year, or it depends on the date from when it's purchased? The students can have continuous access, or would you need to give them a new code every time?
So we typically license on an annual basis. So you would procure an annual license, and then when you create access for your students, you control how long they have access for, as long as it's within the term of your license. So for example, if you activated a license today, November 9th, 2020, by default, we would give you access until November 9th, 2021, and you could create groups that would expire at any point within that term of the license, including the full year. So it's completely up to you. You have full control.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question.
And Curtis, to follow up on that question, the other piece of that question, anyone who does currently have access to the Jasperactive system and can get to the teacher panel, I can't emphasize enough and to encourage them to go to the download teacher resources and go ahead and do the download all on the online course options, and they will find a course syllabus there, and it will outline the expected time frame of the pedagogy for deployment in the classroom. So versus the 15 to 20 hours versus the 40 hours, but the course syllabus will lay that out there for any teachers who want to see that.
Yeah, that's great. A couple other questions here. So on semesters, could that one license be shared? Yes. So our licenses are provided as a site license, meaning that anyone within the institution can access that license and utilize it. So if you purchase an annual license, certainly that can be shared, with one group over here this semester and another group over here this semester. Completely up to you to manage. We provide the licensing and then access, and you can control who gets to access it. Another question, can two teachers have access to the same group? So by default, it's sort of one teacher per group because the teacher creates access. So the idea is if I'm teaching, class A and class B and class C, I would create 3 groups, right? If you wanted, if you had a class that was shared among 2 teachers, certainly you could provide access for both of those teachers. And the way that I would suggest doing that is creating like a generic teacher account. So basically, you would create one account that's shared between 2 people. So it could be done.
I have another question.
Sure.
Okay, I was in the web and I log in my Office 365 and I opened the Word online and I went to add-ins, but I couldn't find the Jasperactive add-in.
Yeah, so that a great comment. So we actually just received notification this morning that it's being processed and added to the Microsoft Store as we speak. So Microsoft has a little bit of a process in order to get add-ins added to the store. We've now gone through that process. So our understanding is it should be on the store available later today, presumably. In the meantime, we do have an interim solution where basically you can download what's called a manifest file and manually upload it into your web apps. And my colleagues can share the link directly for that in the chat. So you can get started today, even though it's not on the Office Store just yet. But we are expecting it'll be available in the Office Store essentially any moment.
Okay.
And the links have been shared.
Thank you.
So I have a question about the actual certification that the students receive upon passing the test. Is it a different certification that is, they put on their LinkedIn, et cetera? Does it look different, or is it still straight like MOS Excel certification?
So the Microsoft Office Specialist certification hasn't changed. That's its own, that's the certification program. We don't offer a certification in Jasperactive. Instead, we use Jasperactive to prepare the learner to take that official Microsoft Office Specialist certification exam. So just to clarify the point there, we're not offering a certification of any kind. We're offering curriculum that directly aligns to the certification so that a student can take that official exam at the end, and then that's a credential they can put on their LinkedIn, their resume, et cetera.
Curtis, I have one quick question for you here.
Sure.
This is regarding Excel on the online version. I noticed with the desktop version, I was running into issues with students where it wasn't tracking all of either their keystrokes or clicking into different cells, particularly within Excel. With the online version being all web-based, is that being addressed at all? It's obviously it wasn't tracking even when students were finishing different tasks, it was still showing them as incomplete. And that was the desktop thing. And I'm wondering if the web has been able to correct that.
Yeah, so I'll do my best to sort of condense an answer on this because it can get long and complicated. But one of the challenges with the installed version of Jasperactive is that when Microsoft releases an update to Office, if we've coded our grading to do something over here, and then Microsoft makes a slight change in that, it affects the grading. And so we would, in those cases, basically take an exercise offline, or it wouldn't necessarily grade correctly if you were having a different version of Office or a different patch or something like that. One of the beauties of being able to do this in an online environment is that we have much more control over those kinds of things. So although I can't say with indefinite certainty that you would never, ever, ever run into a grading issue, I suppose it's possible. But the good news is that because Microsoft just basically can trickle these updates into web apps, we can code very quickly to them. So presumably those types of issues would be resolved.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I was looking inside my Jasperactive account in the web, and I went to see the reports. I'm looking for how do I set up the Word Online, and I choose under my teacher's account. I went to Word Online and I asked to see the report. Now I can see. No, the question is, how do I make a group for an online an online?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think my colleagues will share some support links for you in the chat that explain how to do that. But in a nutshell, when you log into the teacher panel, you go to the groups manager, you create a new group, and then there's a section where you choose which version or which course you want that group code to be for. So Microsoft Office 2016, Microsoft Office 2019. One of the options there will be Microsoft Office Online, and that's what points to the online version I've shown you today.
Okay, well, that's it. I'm going to check that information before, okay?
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
Sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
If we have a Certiporter account already, we just access Jasperactive, like to purchase Jasperactive through our Certiport account, or is it separate?
Yeah, so what you would want to do is work with your Certiport territory representative, and they can provide you with pricing and how to get access and all that stuff. So if you're already a Certiport customer, you would want to work with them directly on that.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Curtis, just a question. Who is the one who translates the Jasperactive software from other languages?
Sorry, from other
The instructions for students.
instructions.
I use it in Spanish, and the translation is could be improved, especially in PowerPoint.
Okay. Well, that's great feedback. Thank you. I think, anything like that you come across, there is a feedback feature where you can provide that to us. We're always, of course, looking to improve the product. So if you feel the translation there isn't sufficient in Spanish, just let us know and we can address it specifically. We actually have some developers that are Spanish speaking natives, so they should be able to assist with that rather quickly. So any feedback like that you'd like to provide is wonderful.
And can you put any email in the chat? Because it's easier for me to share that with you
Sure.
straight to someone instead of looking for on your page, looking for the support, etc.
Yeah, I understand.
For free.
If one of my colleagues here in the call could just put in the email address where feedback can go to, that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I've already done that. It's entered. It was entered probably about 2 minutes ago. So just scroll up a little bit.
Got it. Thank you. And so I just want to reiterate one other thing here, just that for anyone, once again, who has an existing Jasperactive license, you automatically get access to this. So this is in addition to your existing license. As long as you have an active Jasperactive license with us, you get access to the online portion. If you have questions about pricing, your best first bet is to come to sales@ccilearning.com, and then we can direct you accordingly to the right people, whether you're in Canada or you're in the US or you're in one of the other many countries represented on the call today. Your best bet would be to start with sales@ccilearning.com, and then we can direct you to the appropriate party from there. All right, it looks like some people are starting to sign off here. We will stay on for a few more minutes, so if there are some more questions, please don't be shy. Now is the time to ask away.
Hi, Curtis. This is Eric from Winnipeg. I have a question about I tried earlier to get into my office.com account. So it is the free account. And I went into Word and then I went to insert add-ins. And I was trying to look for the Jasperactive add-in. But it doesn't seem to be, it can't locate the Jasperactive add-in.
Yes, so we we're in the process of getting it added to the store as we speak.
Okay.
We heard from Microsoft this morning and they said it's all been approved. So it should be on there later today. But in the meantime, we do have an interim solution, and some of my colleagues have posted a link directly to that in the chat. I'm going to ask them to post it again just because I think it would be beneficial for everyone to see. But you can follow the instructions in that link, and you'll be able to get it in without having to do it from the Office store.
Got it. Thank you. Well, one other question, if I may. This is about, I understand that Outlook is not included in the online lessons, and I understand this is going to be available in the future.
So right now we're focused on Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You know, like everyone, we had to pivot and develop and get this out as quickly as possible so that people could still utilize it in a remote environment. I can't guarantee at this point that that Outlook is necessarily in development. However, certainly we've developed Outlook for traditional Jasperactive in the past and also for our curriculum.
Yes.
So it's definitely a possibility. I just can't give you a firm answer just yet. So I hope you appreciate that.
So I can create a group or a class that includes both the online and the traditional, let's say, Outlook combined together in one group. Yes.
You could. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I just want to, Curtis, I want to clarify. I think I heard the question there. I think I heard the term create a group. The online Outlook option is not available at this time. The Outlook download version, installation version is available. So it is possible to create a group and intermingle the traditional with the online, but only with the courses that match. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but the online Outlook option is not yet available.
Yeah, I think Eric understood that based on if I'm understanding the question correctly. I think all he was saying at the end there is that he could create a code for the online courses, and then also that same code could work for the installed version of the Outlook course, which is correct. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi.
Curtis.
Hi, this is Zahra. Just I have a question regarding the resources of Microsoft. How I can know when it will be exactly released, as it is answered in the meeting chat. It will be, for example, the Word Expert, it will be at the end of this year. But how I can know? There is a specifically link, or you will send me an email, or how it will be?
So that's a great question. Thank you. What I would suggest is we want to make sure that you're on our mailing list. If you received an email with information about this webinar, then you would be on our mailing list. That's going to be the best way for you to stay up to date on the latest releases. Also, of course, make sure you follow us on social media. We post all of our releases as they approach on those platforms. So just make sure you're on our mailing list. If you're not sure if you are or not, put your email in the chat. We'll make sure to add you in, and then just make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms, and we'll keep you up to date as things develop.
Okay, sure, I will do. I put my email, and I have another question also.
Sure.
For example, for the translation, is there any Arabic translation for Microsoft or IC3, or it's all in English?
So right now we have English and Spanish, and in the installed version we also have Vietnamese. We are potentially working on other translations as well, and we're looking at utilizing some services that would allow us to translate into multiple languages essentially on the fly, so quite easily. Unfortunately, I don't have a concrete answer I can share with you yet about other languages that are in development. Just know that it is something that's top of mind for us, and we are working on being able to develop and release in other languages.
Okay, that's great. And the last question, sorry for that. For IC3 GS6, it is already released by Certiboard, level 1 and level 2. And on December, it will release the level 3 of IC3. So when I search in your website, it is only available the IC3 GS5, not GS6. So when the last version will be released?
So I don't have a definitive release date for that. We do have some people on the call that some members of my team that might be able to give you a timeline. Obviously, all of our resources over the last 6 months have been poured into developing this product. And so as a result, that's, had to push some timetables and developments back on other products. So there you go. My colleague there just mentioned that GS6 for Jasperactive will be available in spring 2021. So that's what our development timetable is looking like, to have the IC3 GS6 material available.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Curtis. We got a question here that I'm not sure we've specifically addressed yet, but you might know the answer, or if Dan's on or so forth. Any specific bandwidth speed and approximate data use for full course? So really, the bandwidth part, I'm not sure we've addressed that yet. Do you know anything specific there?
I don't have a specific answer to that. Dan may, our IT director, if he's on the call. I mean, any broadband connection, you're going to be fine. It's not pulling down hundreds of megabytes of data or anything like that. So, even on a mobile network, there would be no issue, for example. So I don't imagine the bandwidth would be an issue unless a dial-up modem or a 56K modem or something like that might run into some issues, but I think you'd be fine on any broadband connection.
Okay, and I'll work with Dan or our marketing team to put that in the FAQ link.
Sure.
That's a really good question.
Okay, well, I think that's all. Actually, sorry, James, do you have a question there? It looks like there's a hand up. James? Okay, well, let's assume James' question has been answered. James, if you do have a question that we haven't answered and you can hear me, by all means, please just get in touch with us and we'll be happy to answer it. Looks like there's another comment here. So Caitlin has a question asking if this solution will be available indefinitely. So I do want to make a point of clarification in your question there, that Jasperactive is the learning material. You've referenced the online certification, which is a completely separate program offered through Certiport, the exams from home remote solution. So I can't answer how long the remote exam certification solution will be available. However, I certainly can answer that Jasperactive MOS Online will be available, at least at this point, indefinitely. We will continue to develop for this model, and we will always be expanding it for new versions, new applications. So this model for Jasperactive MOS will not go away.
How about now, Curtis? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. My question was, and apologies if this was asked earlier, it's regarding integrations with other LMSs. There's going to be a lot of people here that use things like D2L and Moodle and that. Is there any kind of integrations with your online version of Jasperactive now with these systems?
So we don't have anything yet. It's certainly feasible that could come in the future, and I think a lot of it will be based on demand, right? You know, if we have a large customer base that needs it to be integrated with a particular LMS, then certainly we can consider that. At this time, there would be, we haven't considered that in the development, just because, again, you know, we needed to move quite quickly to get something out to market, but certainly could be considered for the future. And if you have a suggestion there, if you think there's, you know, a platform you'd like us to integrate with, by all means, share it with us, and we can put it into consideration.
Just start with D2L.
Okay.
I just want to throw out a little note there. Currently, in the teacher reporting functionality, you can export to multiple different versions, Excel, CSV, which can be uploaded for grading situations in those other LMS platforms.
Thanks very much.
All right, wonderful. Well, we're about 15 minutes past the hour here, so I think most questions have been answered at this point, it seems. If there are additional questions, please, by all means, feel free to get in touch with us. We're happy to answer them for you. Thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we look forward to working with you in the future.